This video is just to help you with Resub nutrition too, because some of you you've included loads of really good information. You just not included quite enough, or not quite done the tasks properly. So as you can see, you got two pass, two merit, and one distinction for this assignment. What you should be looking at really is these tasks and how to pick how to achieve the criteria. So, first point, you need to describe how energy is measured and the sources of energy to the body. That's easy enough. Three sources of energy to the body are the three macronutrients, so carbohydrates, protein, fat. And then just say how many kilocalories in per gram. So, for example, 1 gram of fat equals 9 kilocalories. Then what you also need to do is to define key terminology. So specifically, what does a calorie mean? What does a kilocalorie mean? A joule, a kilojoule? Also tell me how they interlink to one another. So for example, 1 kilocalorie equals 4.2 kilojoules. You can utilize the definitions within your BTEC chapter as well, which is available online for you. So make sure you utilize that. Then it says you need to describe how body mass is measured and the positives and negatives of each method. Now, what most people did was they included positive and negatives of each methods, and they were really good. However, describing the methods is where you all sort of fell down. You weren't going into enough depth in terms of the protocol. You would put like 2.5 lines, 3 lines to the protocol. So, for example, like with the skin fold, you would say you collect from the suprailiac, you collect from the biceps, the triceps, and the subscapular. You would use skinfold calipers, and that's all you're telling me. You couldn't do the skinfold caliper test just off that information. You need to include things like you must take it from the midpoint of the muscle, make sure you don't get fat. You need to take the measurement 3 times to make sure that it's accurate. You then also need to compare all 4 results to the table. So the table that's in your workbooks and also within your BTEC chapter, you need to include that because realistically, how do I know how you're measuring it without including the table? And also, like with the others, you're not including things like the equipment required. What you need to include as well, if you look down by here, ensure to identify healthy values of each method. So include the table that shows healthy body fat percentages. Right, for P4 is really easy. Again, lots of good information for P4, but where people are coming down on is you're not relating the sports performance. So you need to describe the 5 factors of energy balance. Now, 5 factors of energy balance, sorry, if we scroll down here, I've even included them here for you. Energy balance, the 5 factors. So you know you need to include basal metabolism or basal metabolic rate, age, gender, climate, and physical activity. So you've included really good information on there, but you're not giving me specific sporting examples. So for example, you would say if a female footballer and a male footballer were to perform the exact same physical activity within a football match, the male would naturally burn more kilocalories due to the fact that males are generally bigger and have a bigger muscle mass, therefore they need to utilize more kilocalories. That's what I mean by a specific sporting example, and you need one for each, and that would give you P4. Right, now M1, again, lots of really good information from M1, so a lot of you will show me your workings. You're saying, this is my athlete, they weigh this, they're a female male, this is their age, and then you just put in the Schofield equation in and working out kilocalorie requirement. But you're not explaining it, you're just chucking the equation down. First thing you really need to do is to include the Schofield table. So by including the Schofield table, you can then explain to me where you got the equation from. So you can say, as you can see from the Schofield table, etc., blah, 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 and sort of about how, because they're that age, they're that gender, you include that weight. That's how you're getting the basal metabolic rate. And then what you're doing, you're saying, oh, you burn this many kilocalories within like an hour of this sport. That's not explaining again, that's just identifying. You need to say the weight of your athlete again, and say for an hour of this at this activity, my athlete who weighs this amount will burn this for an hour. And then if you're doing football, you say, because football is 90 minutes, I need to time this amount by 1.5 to give you 90 minutes. And then you add them together. So that is how you're going to explain. Make sure you use units as well. A lot of you aren't putting kilocalories at the end of the numbers, you're just leaving numbers there. And as we talked about before, if you just leave numbers, what does that mean? You don't know what a number means unless you put a unit after, so make sure you put kilocalories there. a couple of you with your diets aren't telling me the total kilocalorie amount of the diet. Please make sure you do that in the kilocalories of each meal. Right, and sure to consider BMR and energy requirement. Sure to consider two types of carbohydrate. Right, once you've included your diets for each athlete and you've gone through the process of showing me where you work their energy intake and expenditure, you need to tell me why you've selected those. So some of you you're telling me about the simple and complex carbohydrates. Make sure you change that and go towards glycemic index instead, to really push towards that merit. But also, you're not giving specific examples from your athlete's day. It's like, why are you giving it to them? You got to pretend like I know literally nothing about nutrition, and you need to explain everything to me. So why do those athletes need those particular carbohydrates at that particular time, and how will that benefit their performance? Okay. Give very specific sporting examples. And like I said, when you're going through this before, whilst you're going through this, you need to start explaining the importance of energy balance as well. So things like, why is it so important to meet the energy demand? So what will happen to for example, the sporting performance techniques? Give me a specific sporting example. So for example, like if a rugby player was to have enough energy to meet their energy demands, they would use the correct tackling technique, and they're more likely to stop an attacker from scoring because they're utilising the correct tackling technique. This also allows their team a better opportunity to retrieve the ball due to the correct technique. However, if demands weren't met, technique could be wrong, therefore you're going to miss the tackle or put your head on the wrong side and get concussed, etc., etc. Okay. Also consider things like decision-making ability. So when you're tired, what happens to your decision-making ability, and how will that impact performance? Also, if you got enough energy, how will that impact your decision-making ability? And just make sure you really focus in on the importance of energy balance in relation to sport performance. I can't stress enough the importance of you putting sporting examples within your assignment and your resubs. And then the last bit is just to make sure you really get the distinction. So you only need to pick one athlete, but if you're not sure you've done enough, do both of them, and it could bring you over the line for the distinction. What I'd like you to do is give me a bad example of a day's diet. Now, there's a few ways you can do this. So if your athlete needs a lot of complex carbs, just fill your day's diet with a lot of simple carbs. You could just not meet the energy demand. So if they need 3,500 kilocalories, just give them 2,000 kilocalories for the day. So they've got like a negative energy balance of 1,500 kilocalories. Then what I want you to do is tell me why that is bad. Why is that diet bad for the performance? So you've already given me goods previously up here for this task. Now you tell me bad. So and what is the impact on performance of this being bad? What a lot of you aren't doing as well, you're not talking about recovery. Sorry, so I'll go back up to this task up here. You need to replace your energy after performing because it helps the recovery process. Now, I don't want to know about protein, I don't want to know about vitamins, minerals. This is purely about energy. So granted, yes, protein will help you recover, but if you don't have the energy from your body can't do anything without energy. It can't go through any processes without energy. So you need to talk about the importance of replacing lost energy to allow your body to recover, and then talk about the impact of having a full recovery. So if you're fully recovered, how will that impact training the next day? How will that impact future performances? If you're not fully recovered, how will that impact training the next day, and how will that impact future performances? Once you've done this, please can you submit it to the same portal on Blackboard? And hopefully this video should help you.